Today on Building the Open Metaverse.
We take open data from cities and generate augmented reality experiences for multiple projects and basically create a map, but also an experience on the ground that you can walk block by block and see project one after the other.
Welcome to Building the Open Metaverse, where technology experts discuss how the community is building the open metaverse together. Hosted by Patrick Cozy and Mark Petit.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Building the Open Metaverse Season 6, the podcast that showcases the community of artists, developers, researchers, executives, and entrepreneurs who are building the Internet of tomorrow. My name is Mark Petit, and my co-host is Patrick Cozy. Hey, Patrick.
Hey, Mark. So, I love graphics on the East Coast, and there's a lot going on, especially in the greater New York City area. Today, we're diving into the inspiring journey of Chermesh-Reshef, an architect, a data scientist, and CEO of inCitu. We're going to explore how she leverages augmented reality to revolutionize urban planning and empower communities. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Patrick and Mark, for having me here. It's really great to join your podcast. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dana, for being here. And so, as is the tradition, could you start by telling us a little bit about your background and your journey to the metaverse?
So my background, I'm an architect and planner, born and raised in Tel Aviv, Israel. Studied architecture there and worked there and practiced as an architect, mostly at the city center of Tel Aviv. A lot of infill development, small rezonings during the time of civil uprising with the Arab Spring in the Middle East and affordable housing protests in Israel. So I grew up professionally as an architect, really feeling on the ground how cities are the guards of democracy and really how urban design can shape society and how involved and how democratic it is. I came from background before architecture of flight simulators. So in Israel, it's mandatory to serve in the army. I served for 3 years in the Israeli Air Force, and I had the privilege to be a flight simulator trainer of F-15 pilots. So I spent 3 years basically in a cockpit of an F-15, and being very used to communicate information very tangibly through simulation. And when I became an architect, I was pretty frustrated from the tools that we architects and planners had to effectively communicate our products, which are plans and proposals that shape cities and communities. And I had very early in my career this vision of everything that we do should be very easily accessible visually. And we should be able to superimpose our plans graphically on top of the built environment. Fast forward, I really looked for more data-driven, tech-driven tools as a person who shapes cities. And I found the CUSP Center for Urban Science and Progress master's program here in New York, in NYU. Moved to New York in 2017 with my family. Already had baby twins back then. Now we've grown. And after a short internship in the Department of City Planning of New York, I finally brought this old idea to life and founded inCitu in 2020.
Can you tell us what, just a reminder what urban planning is, especially in a city like New York?
So urban planning, city planning is basically the act of deciding what can be built where and what should be built where. Basically putting the foundations that then put incentives and rules on what developers, architects, communities can propose to their streets and cities. So when you see a construction site, that's like the very end of the process of rules that have been put in place probably many years ago. On top of them, some site analysis of what's feasible. So finance, not only rules, and basically those rules are also politics, right? What can be built where is a very political question. Then finance, what is feasible to build here, what would be manageable financially, and then design. And eventually it becomes a place and the product which people are living in. So that's the act of urban planning.
So Dana, in 2020, you were selected as one out of 6 best social impact entrepreneur to become an entrepreneur in resident at Schmidt Futures, which is the public benefit arm of Wendy and Eric Schmidt. Could you tell us about this experience and what it means to you?
In short, what it means to me, that was the game changer of my career, because I've been given this amazing opportunity to ideate my idea, like to work on this idea for augmented reality for city planning and for cities, right? As a mother of, back then, 3 small kids, a newborn and 2 4-year-olds, without any tech background. I was an architect before I came to this, but with strong vision and strong industry understanding. So this program, which is not like incubators and accelerators, it was a 2 years residency. I had a salary as an entrepreneurial resident, so I was a founder with income for 2 years, which many people with amazing ideas and maybe amazing capabilities do not get this opportunity to already have the time to pilot, to try, to basically bring an idea to life, which I was very, very fortunate to get. On top of it, I got amazing mentorship from the best in the industry of how to become what I used to say, I want to become the CEO that this company or this idea deserves to have. And I believe I did. I really took this opportunity in 2 hands alongside 5 other amazing entrepreneurs that I think the 6 of us are still running their businesses. So it's quite amazing. And all of us are non-traditional entrepreneurs. So women or other minorities or people with disabilities. And I think that made me really shaped my view about the tech world, which again, I wasn't too familiar with before, and about how in the classic path of it is very homogenic and very inaccessible to most people, to people that don't have 2 years to live without a salary and just like, let's try, right? So I really, since then, alongside whatever I do with inCitu and my company, I'm trying to push for more diverse vehicles of entrepreneurship and funding opportunities and ideation, incubation, residency opportunities for many diverse entrepreneurs, but specifically women and specifically mothers, which I think it's a subset of women founders that you almost never see. And I think I can have a full podcast episode just on being a mom entrepreneur and what I think it gives to both yourself and your family and your business. So yeah, I cannot be more grateful for that point in time and that opportunity that I've been given.
So we'll come back on the topic of motherhood and entrepreneurship. But I think so. Tell us about inCitu. What motivated you to found the company, and what was the initial vision for it?
So inCitu, first the name means there is a Latin phrase inCitu. It means in its natural place, and this is truly how we believe people should be able and will be able to experience the future of their communities. To me, again, as a professional in this field, I feel, or I quickly felt when I became an architect and worked in the field, that I have a sixth sense, or that I can see the future. I walk down the street, and just because I know about certain project or I understand zoning and what development rights mean, maybe my eyes see a building that is 3 stories, but I know that there is also a plan in place zoned for 7 stories. So I know that it is 7 stories, although my eyes tell me another thing. And also as an architect and planner, time after time, I felt that when we came, I came with projects, amazing projects, beautiful, innovative in their finance, whatever, to planning hearings or community meetings. People come there angry at the end of the day. It's the same 10 people that come and don't really come to say, oh, how nice of you to build here, or how nice this project is, right? They come to oppose mostly. I felt that we didn't have the right tools to communicate our plans. So inCitu is really on the mission to make this whole conversation, to foster better conversations, better collaboration about urban change visually and very, very frictionlessly. So really empower city builders, whether those are architects, designers, community advocates, policymakers, to effectively communicate and effectively gather feedback from the public, and for the public to have a truly transparent and inclusive planning and development process.
It's a great mission, and it's awesome to bring all those stakeholders together. Could you talk a little bit more about how it brings the residents and communities into the process?
We're here talking about the AR, VR, right? Metaverse. I think a lot of this industry is based on, devices. People hear metaverse, they think about headsets. They think about this virtual experience that is like fully immersive and it's an external world. Here with inCitu, it's exactly the opposite. To me, the mission is to make AR as seamless and non-questionable as maps today, right? You don't think about how amazing the technology of maps is. It is amazing, but you use it without giving too much thought to it. So to me, since day one, we knew that we were going to go mobile until everyone is with something on their heads. Like, we have no reason to use headsets or fancy devices because we are on the mission to democratize this information, put it in the hands of as many people and as most diverse people as possible. So we designed a tool to be mobile, frictionless, so you don't even need to download an app. We use app clips and instant apps to experience. Really, we coined this term QR to AR. Everything we do, every experience that you will, every touch point that you will find our content, you're one click away or one QR away to see the future. On top of that, each one of the channels, whether it's the on-site view or the remote view, I can discuss a little bit more. Each project has the same QR, leads you to a georeferenced real scale AR when you're on site and your eyes can see it. And if you're not on site, you sit at home, anywhere else, you can still play with it with kind of like tabletop AR. Each of those has a place to give feedback. So we're not only democratizing the information and informing you, resident, on what's going on, we also democratize the participation. So you don't have to be available at 7 p.m. to go to that gym and listen for 4 hours to a presentation about a project. You can simply walk down the street, scan a QR, see, explore it, give your feedback, go home. You raised your voice. So this is how we designed it, and we really make sure we track these engagement metrics. And we see time after time that when we place a QR code, in weeks we get hundreds of individual views on the AR, which is like dramatically more than the number of people you get to those community meetings or planning hearings. And when you go to investigate who are those people, you find that are much younger, more diverse, economically diverse, etc.
So in your experience, does this visualization, this ability to visualize the future in AR, help with the resolved, community issues and opposition to projects?
Absolutely, yes. But I will say that the goal is not to just say yes to every proposal, right? There are proposals that's worth modification or even to be rejected, right? What we do see is that, yes, the visualization helps you cut through the noise of the conversation and get to the point of the conversation that you want to discuss, whether it's density, whether it's land use, whether it's where the transportation will come from, what's the impact of it. People get it. It's really like this because we are all visual learners. We all have our cognitive bodies and minds. None of us need to be a professional to feel the difference between different urban fabric. So you don't need to be an architect or a planner to feel the difference between Philadelphia or Midtown Manhattan or a suburb, right? And to me, to be able to experience the future of our cities in the same naturality, that's really the goal. Another thing that we see, and that's like an anecdote, but I love to mention that, is that people are smiling. Like the AR is still pretty magical. So people are like, they're raising their phone and poof, something that is not there is suddenly there. It's anchored. They can walk around it, explore it, zoom in, like take a look, understand more. That it is magic. And you never see smiling faces in planning hearings or community meetings. And suddenly people are smiling. It doesn't mean that they will applaud, right, and will love everything you propose. But it does mean that the conversation is dramatically less aggressive, more to the point, more positive, much, much more efficient.
Yeah, I could see that. No pun intended, right? Having a level of novelty and engagement, but also like really good usefulness. So I believe there's 4,000 projects in New York that are using inCitu right now. Could you tell us about the deployments?
Some point around the end of 2022, 2 years into inCitu, and after a few several projects with clients across the country. Inside of it, we had 2 partnerships with Snapchat and Esri, which improved the experience. We felt that the user experience was really good. Again, we were started from there and pretty obsessed about building a really, really good user experience. And at that point, I wanted to come back to what I was mostly frustrated about, which was all this information out there in open data about permits, about land use applications, about the changing real estate around us. And I need to chase project by project, right? So what do we do with all this open data and how we can automatically visualize a citywide AR layer, right, of upcoming developments? We're here in New York, and I used to work in city planning, so we knew the data pretty well. We decided to do a proof of concept of taking open data of new constructions, permits, and try to standardize the information. Spoiler, it is not standardized for some reason. And it's really, which is ridiculous because it's all like footprints, heights, and land use. Like it could be, you could make standardization, and we're working on pushing for that. But for the first time, we took this information, which doesn't have 3D. It's only tabular records. But these tabular records do have some spatial attributes, again, like those footprints, heights, number of floors, number of units, what land use. And we developed this very basic design rules of if it's office, it will get glass. If it's retail, you'll see that on the ground floor. If it's housing, you'll get this window in that pace, right? And we just generated 4,000 projects that are real permits that are either in process or approved in New York, and automatically generated augmented reality experience for each one of them, which is accessible on site and remote. Because we're a small team, we couldn't actually like place a QR code in each of the 4,000, but to prove or to test how organic engagement will look like, we chose, back then it was January 2023, we chose 25 projects across the city, placed floor decals and planning notices with QR codes that basically said like changes are coming, a development is proposed, scan to see. And in 4 weeks, we had more than 500 individual scans and views of those 25 projects. It was the first time that we weren't there. We didn't do a demo. We didn't do an event, right? We just placed stickers on the ground, which was really, to me, the biggest thing to prove before I try to build a business out of it, right? We built technology, we built a product. The biggest threat to me to inCitu was, what if people don't care? What if it's not the failure of communication, but no matter how you will communicate, no one will engage? So I think we kind of like overcame this hurdle, this question, with a really successful organic engagement from the ground. Moving forward, what we did is we took this pipeline of open data to citywide AR, and build a city offering that we're now working with different cities to say, okay, we'll audit your data, we'll standardize it, and we'll build in place the infrastructure to basically translate each record to AR. We've worked last fall with Washington, D.C., with the Department of Buildings, and with Charleston, South Carolina, on two amazing city pilots. And a lot is happening on that front.
So, Patrick, maybe there is another opportunity for standardization right there.
That's what I'm thinking.
Help visualize what will exist instead of just what's existing. So,
we're the only company that built the digital twin of the unbuilt, of the future, because there are many digital twins platforms out there. None of them, by nature, they're a digital twin of what's built. It's not. It doesn't include usually the layer of the future.
I read a fascinating story, and I want to talk about this. So you usually emphasize the urgency around addressing climate change and also affordability issues in cities. I know there are topics important for you. Can you tell us how you're being active in that space, and particularly tell us about the Seawall project in Charleston?
All those issues, those urban challenges that cities are really at the forefront of being hit from, whether it's pandemic or affordability or climate change issues. Cities are the ones that are being hurt the most, but will solve it first, probably. But again, communicating those issues with the general public is not easy. And I think, again, visualization is a great tool to effectively make people understand. For example, so what we do with inCitu, first in Charleston, as a part of the city pilot, we chose, in each pilot that we do with cities, we choose usually one or two high-profile projects to kind of like double down on, and not just place a QR, but yes, educate the public with AR, do more kind of hands-on engagement. We chose in Charleston the Seawall, which its official name, it's a perimeter protector barrier, something like that. And that's Charleston, historic city. The south part of it is prone to flooding. There is this promenade, and there's a seawall, a protection barrier that is being suggested. 8 miles of infrastructure, and people are opposing it. Now, you would say, why would they oppose, right? Like it's supposed to protect their city. But they are, because they hear seawall and it sounds like this wall or something scary that they don't understand. And we were able to collaborate, of course, with the city, but also with the local rendering company to build a section of the seawall and place the QR codes and be there and interview people and see how they react to visually experience it. And what they figure out is that all it means it's elevating a little bit the promenade, building this, rail there, and removing one car lane to allow for this kind of like gradual structure towards the ground. And people were much more in favor of this plan after walking in it and just like seeing it as they walked. So this is one. The other example is that I haven't talked about it, but most recently what we did with our product is we launched inCitu Pro, which is basically the software as a service product of inCitu. Everything that we did so far, now it's just out there for anyone with 3D to upload a 3D model, georeference it, give it an address, and get a QR code they can share with anyone. Again, no friction. It's a web-based platform. You don't need to download anything. You don't need nothing. We launched it in less than 2 months ago, but we've been working with a beta group since the beginning of this year. And in this beta group are 2 planners from Tampa Bay. And of course, Tampa Bay is lots of flooding, a lot of climate adaptation, recovery already. And now both of them, these regional planners, are under our inCitu Pro clients, and they communicated with the public over a public event different building typologies and sea level rise, and how the sea level rise will impact each building typology. And that was to communicate with communities why they're changing building codes and why they're requiring the elevation of buildings, or why they're putting higher insurance on buildings from certain type or in certain flood zones. So I think, like, again, the ability to create this communication, which is continuous and very tangible, is really important for those issues that eventually save lives.
This is more favorite part of the podcast, the geek part. So if you want to tell us a bit about the tech that you're building on. You already mentioned the QR to AR and having both a mobile and remote use cases.
We've built this really interesting pipeline of generating AR in minutes, 3D to AR in minutes. And we're relying on both native capabilities and web capabilities. And you guys are from the AR XR world, so you will understand today location-based AR is still much better in native. But web, of course, it's just more accessible. Luckily, both Apple and Android came up with these instant apps or app clips, so we could move from having only an app to let's experience this native-based experience AR outside of an app. So the minute app clips were out there, we were from the first to use them and embed them in the pipeline. But again, with the goal in mind to build highly accessible experience, we're using physical assets and digital assets. So our pipeline will generate the QR, which the same QR is automatically populating this floor decal and different planning signage. The same QR leads you to either, as I said before, the on-site georeferenced experience or the interactive tabletop view. But also it generates a map, a web map that can be embedded then if you're a developer or a city or a specific project in your website. This map can be printed to brochures. For example, we've been working in the past few months with on an amazing project with the Central Ohio Transit Authority, the Link Us project. Link Us is basically a big plan to redo West Broad Street. So that's like a huge road from downtown Columbus to the west. And today it's just a highway, nothing. And they want to improve, of course, reduce fatalities, move towards Vision Zero, improve affordability, increase density. So there is a full plan there of bringing rapid transit, micromobility hubs, etc. They will need to raise taxes in order to build that and to fund this plan. And therefore, they built this full engagement strategy. And they're doing bus tours along this route from April to November for the public to just join the ride and learn more about the project. They collaborated with us. They hired us to take 3 stops along this bus tour and build an AR experience for them. So people get off the bus, they scan a QR, and they see the project as if it's built. Now, what I love the most about this project is how non-important, and I do this as if it's not important, the AR is. No one there is talking about the technology. It's not about augmented reality. Again, they use it as naturally as they use their brochures or their maps or their website. And I think that's what makes it so successful. People are just very naturally scanning, seeing, etc. And I think that the map and really makes this whole offering, the product output, something that is really geared for engagement. And as far as I know, that's the only AR tool that is geared for non-professionals or for non-gaming. It's not for training professionals. It's for democratization of information to really make the process more inclusive and more transparent.
I also read about citywide 3D AR layers. Can you tell us what this is and the purpose of those?
We take open data from cities and generate augmented reality experiences for multiple projects and basically create a map, but also an experience on the ground that you can walk block by block and see projects one after the other. Today, we increased that and put more even focus on this side with building integrations to other digital twins platforms and other permitting systems and planning systems to really just be a plug-in to whatever is your process. Whatever you do, whatever data you collect, it should be visualized. It should be easily visualized and communicated in AR.
So ultimately, we could see that in Google Map, basically.
Yes, and actually Google just announced their Maps API, and now you can actually embed QRs in Maps. So I think we're getting there, but yes, absolutely.
So are there any emerging trends in AR and XR that you're looking for? Does the Apple Vision Pro move the needle for a company like inCitu?
Apple Vision Pro, I think they solved many technical issues that are, and of course it's Apple, like they did it so amazingly. Like I can't even start to say how impressed I was, and I did not think I would be so impressed because all of us from the industry tested headsets and stuff. So they did amazing things, but I think it's still a headset, and it's still not designed not for being with it for hours or walking with it or, being outdoors. I don't know. So I think for us, for inCitu, it is the first headset that we considered building for. And I think we will, because it's a pretty low-hanging fruit. Our app is there. We can just do it. And there are clients that also want that. But until it's not something that replaces what everybody has, it's not really changing our direction. Generally in the industry, I think spatial computing, the fact that it's not anymore this futuristic thing or kind of out of context thing makes me very optimistic and very happy. When I started to pitch inCitu back in 2018, 19, I was literally the alien in the room, whether I spoke with city planning or, built environment people who were like, what, augmented reality? That's like unrelated. Or when I spoke with the XR industry, which were like city planning, and went to sleep. So today when I talk about this vision, it seems obvious to people that we'll get there, with or without me. That's how I think about it as well. It's not just inCitu. I think we will get to a point where we can interact with our physical built environment with more information, visually and graphically. And I think AR is bringing us there.
Let's talk about the future. Are there any projects or features that you're most looking forward to for inCitu?
We just launched the inCitu Pro, and we're learning these days exactly who are the users, what are the most popular use cases, how to support our growing user community. That's for the first time B2C, unlike the B2B or B2G that we had before. It all works together, but that's definitely a new and really exciting phase. And we're looking to growing this community and see what our users are doing without us, which is, to me, again, the most exciting. The fact that we empowered others to do what we had envisioned, and they do it very easily. So this is one. Specific projects, so we are part of different RFPs for big infrastructure projects, regional and local. So we're looking forward to be able to say more about those. The Link Us project is incredible and keeps hitting the news with great engagement. And lastly, we have several opportunities of integrating full cities data into AR, and not just do this citywide AR, but also embed our technology in their permitting system. So every new project will automatically be accessible visually. So when you walk near a construction site and see this like graffiti or whatever, like tiny planning notice, maybe now you'll have a QR code that you will just be able to scan and see.
So more generally, what's your vision for the future of cities and how we address the problems that we discussed previously?
I have to be optimistic about cities because I think they are the only hope for humanity in general. And there is a lot to solve for humanity. Yes, but I think cities, with our inability to sprawl anymore and with our inability to stay homogenic and, racist and more, we must strive for cities and we must strengthen our cities. And I think we can. I think post-COVID cities are much more interesting. More people are commuting in different times to the city because others are staying home. So like transportation feels different. The education system looks different. Our kids interact differently with the world. So I'm optimistic only about cities and thanks to cities.
And I'm seeing it in Montreal. The city is not the same dynamics. Not everybody rushes into downtown at the same time. And I think you're right. It's a consequence of COVID and more flexibility and more technology, more immersive technology so that we can do more things remotely. So I do share your enthusiasm. I think it's one of the big questions where we don't have the answer to is, would the metaverse contribute positively to sustainability problem? I strongly believe so. We haven't proven it. But I think inCitu and all those technologies are a good indication that it's going to be a force for good. So let's talk about back to entrepreneurship. What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs, and particularly to how do you see the balance between being a mom and entrepreneur at the same time, and incite other moms to do it?
So to me, it's a huge blessing, really. I can be workaholic. And to me, being a mother and an entrepreneur means I have the best reason to not be on my computer all the time because kids do not let you not be present when you're with them. So I have my few hours in the day when I have to step away from whatever I'm doing. And I, get, of course, the people that I love the most and the most beautiful times in the day, and then I can come back to whatever I'm doing afterwards. And I think being able to first fulfill myself as a professional, as a woman, and also it's not just professionally, right? Like I couldn't be as happy as I am only doing inCitu or giving up on that and only being a mother. So to me, the minute I came back to work after my first maternity leave, was like a haha moment of, oh my God, that's the win-win situation of the world. Like, how come people don't know that, and why do they postpone it? So I love being a mother. I think my kids are the most awesome people on earth. What I would say to young entrepreneurs is, and especially women and mothers entrepreneurs, is don't listen too much to those who tell you that you will not succeed, because many will. And that there is no secret way to do it, right? It's not, I think each one of us has what they are more comfortable with, less comfortable with in terms of hours, work-life balance. Really, there is no do or not do. I think the only do is understand what's right for you and really try to stick to it.
Traditionally measure the entrepreneur, the successful, what VC wants to see is somebody that has 120% commitment to the success of the organization. Do you revendicate, you advocated the need to balance, to balance the force. Is it something that you can openly revendicate as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So first, I wish I could tell you that I'm balanced. I'm working too hard. I'm like, it's not as balanced as I wished. But absolutely. And maybe that's another tip, choose the right investors as well and shareholders. And those who will not respect the fact that I have life are not worth being part of my journey. And that's true not just for women, because, people have different needs and different phases in life, and sometimes you need to take care of an ill family member, or you're going through something yourself, mental, physical. We're all human beings. So if we don't have the compassion to really being able to accept these complexities in life, I don't want you to be part of what I'm building. And I think it's eventually everybody respects that. When you come very clear about what's right for you and what your boundaries, no one will question them.
I liked your advice when you said that you were a founder with a salary, and then that gave you the runway to experiment. And I think that might be somewhat contrarian compared to what some folks want to see today with that 120% commitment, huge sacrifice. But I get the sense that you believe that actually that could be a better model for everyone. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, and look, I mean, I don't know of a CEO that becomes rich from their salary, right? Like that's not how it goes. You take, I think the standard, which is right, is you take the minimum you need to live well and not more than that. And that's okay. Now, all of my investors know that I live in Brooklyn with 3 kids. So of course I cannot not have a salary. That's like it. I will not be able to have after school for my kids, so I will need to go and pick them up at 2 p.m. So I will not be able to do my work, right? So I think when you start, yes, there is this notion of course, until you don't raise something, you don't raise money, where will you get salary from? I think there should be more opportunities out there for early stage companies, early stage founders, to test it out. Sometimes it will not work, sometimes it will, and the world will get a very unique maybe founder or product or story, at least.
The last question of the podcast is there a person or organization or maybe multiple that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Many, of course. But I think I'll give this shout out to my partner and my kids. He at least chose it with me, but they did not choose to have a mother entrepreneur, and they're the most resilient people on earth. So I'll give a shout out to them, and then to my team, who none of this could happen without them. All of us are really going lean and really working hard, and they're amazing, and they're sharing the vision. So yeah, those, and in the spirit of end of year, end of school year, I'll give a shout out to all teachers out there, which are really doing amazing work, and most usually don't get enough appreciation.
So Dana, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your innovative approach to urban planning and this very intelligent use of AR technology. Your vision and the work of inCitu are really, really inspiring. And so we've learned a lot today about how AR can help communities and change our cities. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you both. It's a pleasure speaking with you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Of course, a huge thank you to our listeners. You can reach us on all the podcast platforms on YouTube, and you can contact us through our website, buildingtheopenmetaverse.org, or our LinkedIn pages. Thank you very much. Thank you again, Dana. Thank you, Patrick. We'll be back for another episode.